Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the This Is Gonna Hurt podcast with Jay Gordon Duncan and the Capitalize Your Best podcast. So, why Jay Gordon Duncan? Because I am not a bagpipe player, and if that joke does not make any sense, I encourage you to check out episode 0 where I explain that joke, as well as the purpose of all of these podcasts, which is where we talk about faith, family, fitness, finances, and sometimes fun. And I think today's episode is going to encapsulate a lot of those. I have the privilege of having my friend Jenn Voss on. Not only a friend, she's looked out for me for concerts. We've had dinner. We've had a blast. Our families have hung out together. So I'm really excited to have Jenn on. She's got a lot to say. She is an author, entrepreneur, so much. Jenn, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm psyched.
Yeah, now Jenn, you and I met. This is weird. I'm randomly walking down the road in downtown Fredericksburg,
Yes.
and our mutual friend Sarah Hurst and you are eating brunch at Foodie, which is one of my favorite places everywhere.
It's a
And
good day
so
when you're at Foodie. Yeah.
I know that's right. And then of course Sarah is just one of my dearest friends in the world, and she's like, "Do you know Jenn?" I'm like, "I don't know Jenn." And then you guys are like, "Well, come eat brunch with me." So
Yes.
an hour and a half later, I don't know where I was going. Apparently, I wasn't going anywhere because then an hour and a half
Hope it
later,
wasn't important.
I know an hour and a half later, we're friends. So I appreciate you letting me crash that brunch. I don't know, 6 or 8 months ago, but I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful you're here. If you wouldn't mind, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. One, I just want to say I'm so thankful for that day when you happen to be strolling by. That is one of the great things about where we live. I just
Sure.
love that. And I think you and I are both kind of those people because I think Sarah and I had actually been talking about you.
Oh no.
Because we're both kind of those people that it's people are like, oh, I know who that is, but I don't think I know them. And then
Right.
all of a sudden there you were. So
Well,
very nice to have you.
I had met your husband briefly. I had met Bobby, who's a mutual friend of ours and pastor in the area, and then of course Sarah. So we had all these interconnecting
Exactly. All of these
relationships where we never
connections.
actually sat down and had a conversation. And like I said, if you get an hour and a half at brunch at Foodie, you're going to leave as friends with whoever you're at the table with. I'm literally hungry right now. That sounds
Feeling
fantastic.
that deeply.
I
Feeling that
haven't ever
deeply.
done a podcast over brunch. Maybe that should be my angle. I'm like, hey, Foodie, can we trade free publicity for a lunch once a week? That I need to get on that. That would be
And I
phenomenal.
will beg to be invited back when you
You
are
will be
when you
back,
set
yeah. So
that up.
Jen's like,
Yeah.
"Can I be co-host for that?" And I'm like, "Come on back. This sounds fantastic." But Jen, I tried to, and I already interrupted you. Introduce yourself. Tell
No
everybody
worries.
about
I
who you
tend to
are.
divert, so that's okay. Yeah. So as you said, my name is Jenn Voss. I live in beautiful downtown Fredericksburg. We moved here during, the year that shall not be named. So I
Okay.
don't. Yeah. I don't recommend selling and buying a house and moving during COVID. That was not exactly fantastic, but my family and I had wanted to move to Fredericksburg for the longest time. My husband Norman is, among many other things. I often say I'm married to a literal rock star because a lot of people say, like
Yes.
star. He's a literal rock star. But he's also, like all of us, a history buff.
Mhm.
We have two kids, Noah and Abby. They're both fantastic. Abby, I recently or about a year ago, graduated from homeschool. So we homeschooled her all the way through.
Congrats.
And we all became history buffs during that process. So we were coming down to Fredericksburg all the time. We were learning all that we could. There's so much here for both, Revolutionary and Civil War history, and of course before that
Mhm.
as well. And so we just loved being down here, and eventually got it in our minds that we wanted to live down here, be in a walkable community. So that's what brought us down here. Um, so really proud of both the kids.
Mhm.
Noah travels the world. He is almost 30. My Abby just turned 19.
Amazing.
But
Amazing.
she's a success already. She's an author. She actually got some really exciting news just yesterday, but I will save that for when she pops on your podcast.
Okay, I do
But
need to have her on. I do. I do.
you can always, anybody who wants to check out her work can go to abbylynnvoss.com, and
Nice. Well
that would be a
done.
good
Well
place to
done.
go. For me, as I mentioned, I've been a longtime homeschooling mom. For the most part, left the workforce to do that. Noah was still young when I started homeschooling Abby, and I dabbled in some different things. I'm not a runner like you, but I do love physical activity, physical education. I'm interested in all things fitness and nutrition. And so I used to own a nutrition website. And
Oh, okay.
at one point, I became a CrossFit trainer, and then did that for a few years. I loved that. When we moved to Fredericksburg, once things opened up again, I started training at Fit 20 and then became a Fit 20 trainer. And
Okay.
although I'm no longer working at doing that, those are some of my passions that I like outside of what we'll probably talk about most today. But also during the course of that, I got involved with a direct sales company. And as so many people do, I did it because I loved the product and I just wanted to get it a little bit
Sure.
cheaper. Um, I didn't realize all of the other benefits. Like you and I have talked about some of them, tax benefits, write-offs, et cetera. I didn't know
100%.
about all those
100%.
things. But I
100%.
also didn't know that it would become so profitable for our family, in both a financial sense and just sort of a lot of the relationship and non-monetary success that it's brought to us. And so that's sort of the beginning of my story and how we eventually got to the book. That was a
Wow,
long
I
intro.
love it. So we're gonna get to the book. The book's called Unstoppable Success. We're gonna get there. You gave me so much, so we got to talk.
Yeah,
So
sorry.
no. That's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. Now, so you were a CrossFit trainer, like
Yeah,
official CrossFit trainer, CrossFit gym. You went to the gym, pukies on the wall, the whole thing.
the
And
whole
so,
thing, the whole real CrossFit thing.
okay, I love it. Listen, you know what? And I 100% respect it. I interviewed an adventure athlete yesterday. I can't wait him to be on the show. Uh, I'm a marathon runner, ultra marathon runner. Those, but none of those are um, exercise in measure. I mean, like it's more of I'm built and need to do a little bit more. Complete
Yeah,
respect for every measure of movement that people find, 100%.
right.
But if you become CrossFit, it's a drug, and then you become a CrossFit trainer, something was a little more for you. What was it about CrossFit that appealed to you?
Um, there was quite a few things, and actually much like the business, it grew over time. Like you come for one reason and you stay for another reason. CrossFit gyms, or boxes as they're called, are really places of community. And when you do hard things with people, that is really such a bond together. There's an
Mm,
aspect of competition, but also support, which is also similar to direct sales. And so the relationship and the support that I and then eventually my family found there, because CrossFitters can't shut up about CrossFit. So we had to bring
it's like
everybody in that I
marathoners. They're
knew.
like, oh, you know how you know if someone's running a marathon, and they'll tell you. And so, yeah, I get it.
Exactly. Listen, when you suffer through something, you want to share that.
100%. Yeah, of course, of course.
Little Abby did CrossFit Kids. She actually had joined some CrossFit Kids competitions, and I have some real cute stories
Right.
about that.
Yeah.
So it just became something we all enjoyed. But I think one of the biggest things that caused me to stay for as long as I did, and then eventually want to become a trainer and more actively share this with other people, was that we as humans just don't know what our bodies can do
Right.
until
Right.
you are motivated and pushed to
Mhm.
try. And I became so proud of myself every time I left that gym. I would walk in, I stopped, there's a workout of the day, and I learned that I couldn't look at it online ahead of getting there because I wouldn't go, because I would just,
No, that makes sense. That does. That
yeah.
makes sense.
So I walk in, you look at the board, and you just want to turn around and walk out. And you're thinking, there's no way. There's no way. And then you do it. And it
Mhm.
sucks, but it is amazing. And
Right.
that's where the addiction comes in, because it's not really this. I mean, I guess there are some masochists that love the suck part, but what you love is when that timer stops or you do your last rep and you just feel incredible. And then, if people are still working, all you want to do is cheer them on and get them to the
Yeah.
same place
Yeah.
you are. And it's incredible.
It is. In my own little world, I mean, when you're in a race, probably very similar to a competition or your day to day, there's an environment of encouragement and support, people believing that you can take the next step. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's some butt heads in the CrossFit community, and there's a few in the running community, but the overwhelming majority of the people I bump into in my fitness community are absolutely supportive and
Yes.
encouraging. And what I've heard from my friends who have been heavily involved in CrossFit is the same thing. There's some bad heads in the room because we live in a broken society, but for the
Correct.
most part, people want to see you make the next step. People want to see you achieve. Was there something about it that made you go, I need to step away, or was it just a natural progression?
It became actually a time issue as far as just training. I no longer felt like I could do something like have that commitment to that number of hours where I was actually training other people. And so then, you know how life goes. Like, well, if I'm not going up there for work, then I would skip the workout before work. And I sort of
Mhm.
drifted away. And then 2020 came.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I have a good friend, and she said the same thing, that like just a beast of an athlete, and then 2020 just changed that. I was fortunate because mine's just outside, and I thought a lot about my friends who couldn't go to the gyms. Our church at that time met at the YMCA, and the YMCA was just shut down,
Mm,
and the avenue where so many people, you don't have that level of gym in your home most part,
right.
and so it was transformative in a lot of ways in a very difficult way. But it sounds like you went on to Fit 20. I'm really familiar with Fit 20, and you found an
Yes.
avenue there, and so you became an instructor there as well.
Yes. The one thing that I love to mention about Fit 20, so again, I moved on from training there more like a time commitment issue, but I still attend there. That is a weekly training that my everyone in my family does. What I love about it is we had just moved here and things started to open up, they were opening their brand new studio. And as you know, it's very
Mhm.
close to my home.
Mhm.
So we saw the sign come up, and they had a table outside one day. The radio station was there. So I went over to ask, what is Fit 20?
Mhm.
And heard 20 minutes once a week. And so, and they were signing up for like a free intro session. And me being a personal trainer at the time, I thought, oh yeah, I'll take that session so that I can
Sure.
tell everyone what a crock this is.
Right, right, right.
I wanted to get the experience so I could say, let me tell you how ridiculous this idea is.
Mhm.
Um, and well, anyway, that was 5 years ago. And I took
Hilarious.
this
Now, yeah.
session. I was fascinated by the technology, fascinated by how my body felt after it. Um, and like I said, yeah, the rest is history. So it's very different. Besides that, it's intense like CrossFit. It's almost the complete opposite of CrossFit, where it's
Mhm.
slow motion, it's very controlled, a lot of metrics, little gamification, uh, not even full extension because you're staying under pressure the whole time. But I love that model too, obviously, since I'm sticking with it. So I'll
Good.
tell you, there's an aspect of fitness that'll work for everybody. And I, like you, I just applaud anything that people are doing that's moving their bodies. We
100%.
all have our favorites.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I see a theme, Jen, is, the personal development you did is CrossFit, you doing that for your children, as a whole school parent. It makes sense for me when I hear your story about moving into direct sales, because the best of direct sales is very good at personal development. And,
Amen.
and there is personal development training that you almost can't find anywhere else outside of that field. But when you find that there, it is as addictive or as rush as CrossFit or any other workout. Tell me what your experience has been like in direct sales with just the personal development space.
Absolutely. You know, there's the quote, and I think it's Eric Worre, but I'm not 100%
Mhm.
sure. But people have said, someone has said that direct sales is personal development with a paycheck. And honestly, I mean, that is what it is. One, you're not going to get far if you're not investing in personal development. You're going to, you know, plateau, get to a limit. You can make your, you know, $100 a month or whatever
Right.
that is. But you're really, it's also a little bit like marriage, right? Like through the course of working through this, you're going to find out a lot of stuff about yourself. And then
Hmm.
you're going to
Hmm.
decide about whether or not you want to work on those things.
Right.
And so I have loved that. Sometimes finding out some things about yourself can be challenging, but again, like
Right.
CrossFit, I
Right.
like the end result. I like working through it. And if you're in the right place when you're doing direct sales, in the right place and with the right support, there is just, again, so much community around you. And I think that's one of the non-monetary successes that I started to notice right away is that, you know, I was coming into this as a homeschool mom who is, you know, making all our food from scratch and trying to sprout my grains and brew kombucha and
Okay.
keep the house reasonably clean and keep up with all my friends and do, you know, all the things. And at the end of the day, no one was giving me any awards for that. No,
Right.
nobody was, you know,
Right.
shouting out on Facebook like Jenn cleaned the house again, yay, you know. And then, in fact, really, and I, you know, I have a very supportive family, but this is just a fact of life, right? This is just not what we do. And so the only time those things really became noticeable is if things weren't done. You know, everybody notices if there is
Right.
no dinner, people start asking questions. But when
Right.
there is
Right.
dinner, no trophies. And
Right.
so what I realized as I started operating within the direct sales sphere and within my company and making steps towards success, just having little wins, is that I was celebrated. And I thought,
Mm.
oh my gosh, this feels amazing. And so one thing that we always say within our team is, you know, what is celebrated is repeated. And that
Hmm.
certainly was the truth for me. I just thought that became something I wanted to feel again. And sometimes the shout outs were for metrics, you know, you reach a certain level of sales or you do some other easily measured thing. But sometimes it was like, wow, you know, Jenn went live and did a live application and I'm so proud of her because that was difficult. Actually, the first Facebook Live I did, I had no sound on at all, and I still got a lot of kudos for that.
Fantastic. Yeah. I think that was my first podcast interview too. I was like, oh, well, we never recorded that. Do you have time to do that again? So yeah.
I mean, this is how we learn, right? This is how we learn. And so that was a huge win. So I think that combination of learning about your thing, learning about your weaknesses or your, you know, things where you'd like to develop, and then actually doing it is a win. And then being supported and cheered on and encouraged along the way. That's the winning combination.
Well, you're right. I mean, one of the things I tell my clients, and I'll tell them all the time, I hate cliches, but some of them are just correct. And one of them is that learners are earners. I mean, that
Oh, I
we
like.
we
Oh, I
don't
like that.
we don't know what we don't know. But then we also have folks ahead of us who have vast years of experience. And if we can download their experience, then we shorten the time frame we need towards success. And so Amy and I've been involved at direct sales before. And so when you walk into that realm, it's a different model of business. It's a different approach. You've got to learn what you're actually selling. You got to learn how to build a team. You've got to learn how to be a seller. And then you're
Mhm.
going to have to learn all the measurements, like how do I have a thick skin? How do I have a short memory?
Yeah.
And but folks who dive into that, that is as addictive as CrossFit or running or those other things, because personal development is truly, by definition, getting better every single day. And I tell my
Yeah.
clients that 1% better every day sets you apart from everyone else out there. So tell me a little bit
I love
about
that.
your team. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing.
Yeah, so thank you. My team has become the bright spot of this direct sales journey. I am fairly good at sales, mostly because we have a great product. And I don't think I've mentioned I'm with Color Street. We had a great flagship product, and we've increased our product line, and it's great. I think I love relationships, particularly I love meeting and supporting women. So this was a good fit for me. I don't think I realized how much I like those things, and how much that was going to pay back again those non-monetary dividends to me. But as I got developed over the years, the 6.5 years that I have been with Color Street, um, those have been really just blessings to me. So right now, this is the last day of February. I have a team of about 160 stylists, and I am proud of every
Incredible.
single one of them.
Good for you.
Um,
Wow.
Thank you. We've really done some amazing things together. I mentioned to you the last time we got together for a happy hour that our company is restructuring, and that will be
Right.
tomorrow. And so
Okay.
a lot of those people will no longer be part of my downline. I won't have
Mm.
that large, deep team. And that is definitely something that I'm mourning. But I will have some very close stylists close to me. I intend to continue doing what we're doing, which is I'm going to provide as much support, encouragement, cheering them on, and training as I can. And we're all just going to keep selling products that we love, and see what else is out there for us that we can combine with our current company. So it's an exciting time, but change is, you know how change is.
Yeah, yeah, especially when you've had a measure of success and the restructuring challenges, those
Yes,
metrics for success. But I'm sure that there's people in your team that you've established relationships with that are going to continue. 100% the challenge of being a solo owner is that you don't have that team.
yes.
You have to build up enough revenue to have a team, and so I'm fortunate now, a graphic designer and a few people that I do have that when you get time with them, it's just absolutely life giving. If you
That's
create that
such a good
atmosphere.
phrase. Yes.
So, well, all that I think led to you writing in unstoppable success. So everybody, I'm going to put this link on the show notes, of course. But out of nowhere, Jen's like, "Why? I'm in a book now," and I'm like, "What the heck? I didn't know anything about this at all." Which, by the way, I can't do anything without telling people I'm going to do it. So, congrats! Somehow you did all this under the radar, and all of a sudden you got a book in your hands. And I was like, "Wow, Jen is way more humble than I am."
Oh, I don't know about that.
And so, but you were asked to write an article, so she's got a copy there in her hand. And so tell me how the opportunity came about, and then tell me about your article.
Yeah, so I'm going to hold it up again. This is the book Unstoppable Success. You can get it on Amazon. You can also get it from me if you would like it signed.
Oh, I need that link. I need
And
that link. Okay.
for if you know, you know, I'm also willing to have Norm sign some copies if that's something that you're
That's
interested
correct.
in.
Norm the
So
rock star, bass player for Brett Michaels. Just had to throw that out there. So okay, go ahead. So
Yes, exactly. And thank you for saying that. And also, I did have one request for Abby to also sign it. So whatever you want. The bosses are, we
well,
aim
if you
to
get
please.
Noah, you should charge more. You're like, if you need all four of us, that's gonna be really expensive. So
Oh, absolutely. I mean, his will probably be the most valuable someday, but you'll have to wait till he's back from Japan. So,
okay.
yes, Rob Sperry is kind of a giant in our network marketing industry. I follow him as part of my own personal development. I love
Mhm.
his trainings. I like his leadership questions and interactions that he does. Always learn a lot. Plus, he has kind of a very compelling story, similar to what you're saying. He's someone who realized, like, here are things I'm not good at. How do I become good at them?
Mhm.
And then he
Mhm.
did. And now, he's running, I mean, multi-million dollar masterminds and all the
Right,
things,
right.
right?
Goals.
So I follow
Mhm.
him, and he has actually sort of published and coordinated a number of these collaborative books for people in the network marketing and direct selling sphere. And I was familiar with those. I saw that he was doing another one. And if I just back up a little bit, um, I had done probably, probably 2.5 years or so ago, I had done a training for a small part of the Color Street stylist field, about 120 people. it was a certain team. They rented a nice conference room down in Virginia Beach. I went down and I did a training down there that was on coachability, and threw in a couple other things too. And
Mm-hmm.
it was really well received. I really enjoyed doing the training. Again, I'm sure you find this with your business when you are called to speak on something. All of a sudden, you're like, okay, am I practicing this? Am I doing this? Is this
Right.
something that is
Right.
authentic for me? Right. So I learned a lot. I grew. I wrote the training. I delivered the training, and it was well received. And I got some really great feedback on that. So a few months later, our home office with Color Street reached out to me and said, "We've heard that you did this training. Would you do it for the entire stylist field?" And so at
Nice.
that time, I mean, this was coming out of COVID. We had a huge stylist field. I'm going to say maybe between 100, 120,000. So not all of those people attend trainings. We'd probably have a very different company if they did, but
Right. Right. Of course.
potentially they did. So I was doing this on a Zoom for our entire stylist field, and I did that training as well. And again, got some really good feedback on it. And I had been since then having this feeling, Jen, I think this is good. I think we should share this with people.
Right. Right.
And so then I see Rob Sperry putting together another book collaboration. And I thought, oh man, I wonder if this is something that I can do. So I reached out, and there's an application process if you'd like to be part of one of these. And I didn't even want to do the application. I mean, had major imposter syndrome, not so much about the training, but just the guys that and gals that he's in line with are just, they're up here, right? So I asked to do an interview instead because I wanted to also talk about, I wanted to say, do you think this even aligns with the book? Is this worth, me spending
Sure.
some time on this?
Sure.
And I interviewed with his assistant, who is precious and just also very successful in her own right, and works as Rob's assistant. And we had a great camaraderie. And she was like, I think we should do this. I think this is something that really, you
Great.
should
Yeah.
get out there, that the field should hear. So that felt great. What I neglected to realize is how difficult it is to translate a spoken training into a written blurb of under 2,000 words.
Right. Right.
2,000 words sounds like a lot, but it's not.
It's not
And
easy at
so
all. It's not.
it wasn't. So that was a challenge for me. I love to write, and I think I write well. But I think making that transition was a little bit more difficult than I thought. But again, we challenge ourselves, we develop things. This is how we grow. And so that's what got us to the chapter, which I can tell you about. But I feel like that was a long part of Jenn talking for a minute.
Well,
So I'm going
no,
to
and
let you
I
jump in.
loved it. And so it is, it's when we move from, I'm trying to grow my business, when we move from personal development, those things are very one-on-one. That's like, this is the thing I'm doing.
Yeah.
But no matter what, when we move into the realm of, okay, I'm going to start influencing other people, which I know you did as a team leader,
Mhm.
but it's very different when you're like, I'm going to stand up in front of a crowd. I'm going to write an article for a book. The all the doubts and the imposter syndrome and all the fears come out because
For
you
sure.
do just wonder, what in the world are people going to think about this?
Mhm.
When we were coming up here when we moved up here in 2013, I was asked I think I shared with you, I used to be a pastor. And so I was asked to preach, quote unquote, like a trial sermon, which is really weird to do.
Yeah, for sure.
And so 2012, I was the long-haired, shaggy, hippie pastor kind of thing. And, and the church I was invited to preach at was a very strict, big old church, 200 people. You stand on a podium, you don't move, and so I was asked to preach the Sunday night and did my deal. I put on a sport coat, did whatever I could. It's just a completely different person 12 years ago. We get in the car and I told Amy, well, we don't have to worry about that. I mean, I just, in every way, I just thought I didn't connect with a human being. They looked at me like I was like a trapped animal. I just thought it went terribly, and my feelings weren't even hurt. I'm like, well, we just don't really have to worry about that. That just is
You
just
you
not
just
going
felt
to
very matter of fact about it,
it's
right?
just
Like,
not
well,
going to be an issue for
yeah.
us. And then they called me the next day and like, that was fantastic. We really like to pursue this further. And what the takeaway of the story is not that I did a great job. Takeaway of the sermon is the disconnect that we don't have really any concept of on the other side of the presentation.
Yeah.
That we get caught up in our own thoughts, my own insecurities or your own insecurities. So what helped you move from that first step of like, I'm actually going to actually try to influence others to now you're like, I'm feeling comfortable. I'm ready to step into a larger realm of influence. What helped you do that?
Well, I would go back to the team community that I have, where we believe really fiercely in one another and we say it. And so when you have a bunch of women that are always so thankful for any insight or any sharing or brainstorming that you do. And they say it to you and they say it about you and they say it publicly like that, you think, okay, I'm going to take them at their word. I'm going to take them at their word.
Right.
Right before the changes to our structure were announced, my co-leader and I, my friend Anita, who is mentioned in my chapter in the book, by the way, we put on a leader summit for some of the leaders in our downline. And one of the things that we talk about whenever we gather as teammates, we get deep with the personal development and we get deep into the belief and what's happening there. So there's tears, right? And what we're coming to with each other is like, listen, if you don't see it yet, believe me when I tell you what I see in you. If you can't see it yet or you don't feel it yet, believe me when I tell you that you're a great leader. Believe me when I tell you that you have things to offer. And so it's been very important to me to do that for other leaders, but because I've had that pour into me. And I think that's kind of what got me to the
Nice.
other side. That doesn't mean it was a 100% comfort level, because the other part of that is I just threw my hat over the fence. I was like,
Right.
okay, I'll write the chapter. And I was like,
Yeah.
so
Well, if someone was gonna, of course, your winsomeness in this conversation is going to make people want to read the book. But
go on.
if they're going to get the book to be encouraged, what is it from your chapter you're hoping that they're going to take away?
So what I tried to do in this chapter, so it's called "You Are the Power." Okay, that is a phrase that means a lot to me in a lot of different ways, and I've been caught saying it quite a bit. It's about coachability, but radical ownership. And what's so interesting is those can seem like very oppositional terms, right? It can seem like, how do those things go together? That you want to be coachable and yet your outcome is really just on you, right? What I've tried to do is put those two things together in a way that you can see the connection more than the dichotomy of them. Um, Coachability and ownership, again, in the right balance, I think is part of that magic formula that we can find. Um, and I have had, in my time working in direct sales, I have tried to be a good mentor. I have had a very good mentor, but I've
Nice.
also come in contact with a lot of people that did not have a good mentor and sometimes could use that as an excuse for why they were maybe not seeing the success that they wish they could. And that is one of these "you are the power" things. Like, listen, you can find it. You want to find it, reach out to people, do your personal development, look around. I mean, I talk about that in the chapter. There's all kind, you don't have to depend on your upline or your
Mm-hmm.
home office, depending on what your company looks like, to be able to get coaching. And you have to be open to feedback from all the places that it comes.
Right.
And so anyway, I've tried to kind of branch those two ideas together, but really end the chapter with some very practical things that people can do to really adjust their mindset if they're finding difficulty being coachable, um, or finding difficulty accepting coaching and feedback, or finding difficulty with really settling into that idea of being completely responsible for your own outcomes.
Right.
And that's that's just factual. That's not like, oh, now I'm going to beat myself up out of it. It's like you just look at the facts and then you say, okay, well, what do I have to do next? What do I have to do differently?
Yeah, there's an expression that you don't really begin to live until you recognize that no one's coming to save you. And so that means if you need a mentor, then it's up to you to go find a mentor.
Yes.
If there's a skill set you need, then it's up to you to go get that skill set.
Correct.
Whatever the circumstances may be, it's up to you to figure out what the path forward is in that. Because ultimately, we're all in the same situation. Everyone else is trying to figure out how to do it as well. So I'm very
Yeah.
fortunate. I've got mentors in my life. One primary mentor that will give me every bit of wisdom he can give me, but ultimately, it's still up to me to figure out what I've got to do next. And so it sounds like you're marrying that sense that you are your own power, or is that what you said? You are the power.
You are the power. Yes.
You are the power, but then still the power of coachability, the power,
Yeah.
the ability to hear someone else's wisdom and take something from it. So that's why I still love books. And you spend $20 on a book and you're going to download your life for me, done all day long. I'll do this every single day
Yeah.
because all I need to do is take one thing away from that's going to make an impact on me. So Jen, as we're starting to kind of land the plane here a little bit, it's a broader book than just yours.
Yeah.
If folks were reaching out to, were thinking about getting a copy of Unstoppable, I'm sorry, all of a sudden my brain's not remembering. Unstoppable Greatness, is
Success.
that what it was? I apologize.
Unstoppable success.
Thank you. Forgive me. Unstoppable
No
Success.
worries.
In a broader picture, what would you hope someone could take away from it if they went and got a copy?
Well, so I think I have said before, and I think I said this to you previously. I feel like I am with these other authors and the tremendous success that they have seen. I feel like I'm the person that bought kind of the crappiest house in the really nice rich neighborhood, which
Mhm.
is a great place to be for me because the high level stuff you're going to get in this book for anybody that is either in direct sales or network marketing or an entrepreneur, right? There are practical chapters about, this new digital marketplace. Not that the digital marketplace is new, the newness that is always happening in the digital marketplace, right? But a lot of like relational trainings, um, getting over difficult losses and moving over those challenges and getting back into that victory mindset. So what I would say is I think my chapter can really encourage anybody at in at any level of network marketing or business growth. I also think it's probably has some value in just general relationships. But with some of these other chapters, I would say this is like getting you on the trajectory to really, really serious success, really big picture kind of, okay, I want to catch a vision for where I could possibly be going in the
Nice.
future. So lots of value in a tiny little book.
Good. Well, please share with me again the link where we can buy autographed copies. I have mine, everybody. You should only get them autographed from Jen. And then any other websites in which we can support you. If you'd like people to follow you, what's your favorite social for people to find you on?
Well, you know what? I'm trying to become more of an Instagram girl, and I do put my stories there, but I'm of the age. Facebook is my jam. So come find me on Facebook. I'm Jennifer Arnold Voss. If you want to find me on Instagram, it's just Jenn with two N's, JENN.VOSS. I will share the best place really to find all of that information and a bunch of other connection information is just at Jenn Voss, again, two N's, JennVossCleanBeauty.com. So just
There we go.
JENNVOSS cleanbeauty.com. And I will actually put the link to get an autographed copy of the book there because it's kind of an
Perfect.
ugly link to say.
Perfect. Yeah, no worries at all. Well, good. And everybody, I encourage you to follow Jenn Voss and find her. Yeah, Facebook is still the place where people are, so you still got to find everybody there. And JennVossCleanBeauty.com, I believe is what you said. I'm gonna put all these links in the show notes to support it. I really encourage you to get the book. The great thing about the
Thank
book
you.
is that it's editorialized. There's 14 authors or so in there, so you can grab it, get a quick read, come back to it at some other time. It's not going to overwhelm you with 300
Oh,
pages. Like
100%.
you really can get. I of course just skipped straight to yours, read yours first, and now I'm going back and going through it. So guys, please check it out. If the foodie brunch podcast ever happens, we just need to speak all this into existence, Jenn.
Yes,
We need foodie to hear it and go, I want this to happen. We'll just set up in the vault and just do our podcast there. It sounds great.
I am
Um,
all in. I
I
am
think
all in.
so. We would have no problem getting guests, none whatsoever. People would be
Right.
lined up completely. But thanks so much for coming and sharing with everyone. I'd gotten so lazy and I had not done guests for a long time. And so I'm excited. You're the first back in a while. I haven't had folks on. So, and you'll be on 2 podcasts. First time it was going to be 1. So Jenn, thanks. Everyone else, thanks for tuning in. Every single Monday episodes come out. And I am resharing old This Is Gonna Hurt episodes on Wednesday because I want people to find them. Reach out to Jenn, and everyone, I will see you again next week. Thanks so much.
Thank you.